Summary of the book The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. During our life, we are not able to deal with a variety of people who influence society and trouble. Where you will have difficult tools, and among these people and presidents are with us, and some of them are our colleagues and friends, then we read clear aggressiveness that plays with our emotions, and often these people appear attractive in a clear way full of confidence, believing in ideas and enthusiasm, so we fall under their influence and charm, but soon we discover after their demise this charm that their thoughts are not an idea.as for our colleagues, the people who sabotage our business and our careers because of what they keep are envious. We are eager to overthrow us, and as a shield we discover that they are exploiting us to advance at our expense. And before starting the summary, do not support us by subscribing to the channel, pressing like, and writing your opinion about the book in the comments box. The book, The Laws of Human Nature, by author Robert Greene, deciphers human behavior around us and helps us develop and improve our skills to know the reasons for the difference between us as human beings, the idea of accepting the other, which is one of the most important ideas that help us coexist with others in peace and love, and reject intolerance and violence, is one of the important ideas presented by the book. They call for developing ourselves socially to become more tolerant of the group, while preserving our uniqueness, distinction, and differences, and investing these differences in progress and development, not to go backwards. Greene believes that our assimilation of the totality of human natural laws would radically change the way we deal, and our perception of what is around us, as well as the way we see Litwadana. The idea of liberation from intolerance after understanding human nature is one of the most wonderful ideas presented by the book. Emotional drama drains energy unnecessarily, so the book focuses on turning us into observers, observing everything that happens around us, to give us a deeper ability to judge personalities and deal with toxic types of people that get in our way in life. Robert Greene's laws are a way to motivate and influence people, which gives life a deeper and easier meaning, enables us to change negative patterns, and transforms us into more sympathetic and more satisfying people around us. In the following lines, we review a summary of what was stated in the 18 laws. The law of irrationality controls your own emotions. This title simply talks about emotions and their impact on us, and calls us to be aware that we act according to our desires and emotions. Therefore, we must control our emotional selves that control our behavior and make them negative and bad, and make them more rational, by disabling emotion and thinking objectively, away from violent reactions, and this takes time and effort to develop this skill and control our emotions. The law of narcissism transforms self-love into sympathy. Self-love and inclination towards it collide with rational and objective thinking. Thus, we must curb our narcissism and transform self-love into a higher meaning, which is empathy, to see the minds of others, anticipate their actions, and mitigate their reactions in a gentle manner, and let our mission in life be to reach excellence, and turn our sensitivity outward, instead of being inside. As well as getting to know pathologically narcissistic people, avoid falling for and getting involved with them. The law of role-playing: look through what people hide. We are in a world of masks, and X is obliged to always appear in the best possible way, and they hide their true feelings, and therefore we have to gradually learn, how do we discover these personalities, which is what comes from school and training, as the truth always seeps between the lines, and every mask has its cracks that expose it, so we have to learn defensive measures, and how to best present our interface to a more influential role player in the world of masks. The law of your compulsiveness defines the strength of the human personality. Each of us has a set of compulsive behaviors and patterns that must be eliminated, especially the bad ones. The law talks about the recurrence of behavior and patterns in personalities due to their upbringing and the environment, how to distinguish it, identifying optimal ways to treat people after discovering their personal patterns, avoiding toxic personalities, and approaching personalities that adopt positive behaviors, the law of greed. Be an elusive target. The desirable, the forbidden, the desirable. Absence and presence have great effects on us. Too much presence stifles, while lack and absence stimulate our interest. This is a law that distinguishes most people. The constant desire to possess what we do not have distinguishes us all, so the writer advises to learn to create ambiguity around our personalities, always pushing others to seek our knowledge and desire to return to us. The strategic absence makes us want to return, because they always aspire to fullness. People tend to like things that are not theirs. The grass is always green on the other side of real. We are constantly panting for the life of what we do not possess, and greed is a dominant feature in our human nature, and we must deal with it with caution, and try to make it more positive, full of work and giving to reach it, not to limit and hate what others hold dear. The law of the train of sight, raise your perspective, long-term vision is difficult, and maintaining it for many people is a great challenge, as most of us are driven by momentary reactions, and we are greatly affected by what is happening in the present, and we are carried away by quick profit and catching up with temptations without calculations. And therefore we have to practice to be patient and look further for what might happen in the future, the code of defensive behavior mitigated. People's resistance by upholding their autonomy. Needless to say, over time people get defensive and snap fiercely when someone calls for change. If you want to lessen their resistance, you must induce them to change their views, but not by offending them. If you want to make huge strides toward achieving your goals, you must seek creativity, explain your noble intentions, and make them feel that they are in control of their opinions and patterns. The law of self-destruction changes your circumstances by changing your attitude towards humans, lenses that form their view of the world, which are attitudes, which is that willingness to act or respond in a certain way, and it is usually unconscious. Attitudes are divided into two main parts, the narrow position and the positive expansionary position, and we must always strive to move from the negative to the positive by supporting our positions. More flexible to confront negative hostile attitudes with awareness, knowing the weaknesses that we suffer from, and trying to treat them. And if you are dealing with a hostile person, then the appropriate solution is to deal with him, and not respond to him with hostility in exchange for the hostile reaction that makes him persist in his hostility, justify his hostile behavior, and continue on the same approach, while if your method is different, you will confuse him, he will not act hostilely. And if you're one of the anxious people who are afraid of confrontation, try to get out of your anxiety and tension in your energy at work, and I try to control your anxiety, and treat those who suffer from anxiety by reassuring them without responding, and drifting behind their anxiety. The book explains how to deal with all different people's situations, whether hostile, avoidant, anxious, depressed, or upset. In general, the writer raises the importance of accepting the diversity of the country around us. The more we accept the other, the more tolerant and smoother we become. The more we change our controlling attitudes, the more we will change our circumstances. The law of quenching: confront your dark side. In short, people show their best side and hide their dark side. Learn to discover what is behind the qualities of holiness and apparent courage that often disguise the opposite. Know your dark side, and face it. By being aware of it, you can control and channel the creative energies that lie within you. It is by integrating the dark side into your personality. You will become a more complete human being, and you will feel an authenticity that attracts people to you. The law of envy. Beware the fragile ego. One of the most important human characteristics is comparison. We are compelled to compare ourselves to others, and this need for comparison serves as an incentive for us to excel through our work. For some, this comparison may turn into what is called envy as a result of feelings of inferiority and frustration as a result of comparison, which in turn leads to covert attacks and sabotage. None of us admit to acting out of envy. We must recognize the early warning signs, such as praise and unreasonable bids. The solution to this problem is to divert envy by drawing attention away from you. Develop your sense of self-worth from internal criteria, not from constant comparisons, and invest envy to perform more distinctive work of hatred, creating wars and conflicts. The law of greatness knows its limits, affecting our sense of our abilities, and our greatness often deviates from normal and often becomes more negative, and thus our success in a small way raises our greatness to more dangerous levels. We often forget the role of luck in our own successes, building and taking credit for ourselves, and we also forget the contributions of others. We imagine that we have golden touches, and this pushes us to make irrational decisions, so our successes do not last because of the loss of contact with reality and the distance from logic. The solution to this problem lies in skepticism and uncertainty about the results of our plan, refraining from bleeding excessively if we are criticized, and confronting being drawn to the bone by maintaining a realistic assessment of ourselves and our limits, and linking our sense of pride to work, achievement, and contributions to society, the environment, and work. The law of intransigence reconnect with the masculinity or femininity within you. We tend a lot, according to our human nature, to suppress masculine or feminine traits in us, some of which are genetic, and some come from the influence of parents, and we pay the price for that, and we lose valuable dimensions in our personality when our thoughts and methods of behavior become puritanical and attached to presenting a stable identity in society. We must become aware of our missing masculine or feminine qualities and slowly reconnect with them to unleash the creative powers in us and to make our thoughts more flexible by bringing out the dimness in our characters, the fat-growing shyness. Wayne, that would astonish people that we will not form ourselves without pretense, so we should not play the role of the expected soldier, but rather we must create the role that suits us and is appropriate for us. Dispersion law. What is a sense of purpose? The opinions of others and our personal mood may cause us to become distracted and lose a sense of the universal direction in life, and we wonder how we ended up in this work or in this place. This distraction can lead to a dead end, and the way to avoid this fatal distraction is to develop a sense of purpose in life and discover our mission in society. We all have to learn about our struggles in life and ways to avoid them. Even our moments of doubt, we must develop and work on them and overcome our failures, which in themselves may be a reason for increasing our hardness and redirecting our capabilities. The law of obedience is not a flash. We often lose our identity when working in a group, so we unintentionally mimic what others do and say, and in the midst of this we may lose a sense of our uniqueness and distinction, and our difference from the group, and the solution is to develop self-awareness and a superior understanding of the changes that occur within us in groups. With such smart handling we become more effective in society. More individual, able to adapt outwardly, cooperate with others without drifting blindly behind them, and identify with the characteristics of the group. The law of coloration make them pant to follow you. One of the most important human qualities is fickleness. We want freedom, and at that time we want to be led, and we want to enjoy protection and prosperity without sacrifices. We want the king and we want to kill him at the same time. So when you are the leader of the group, people are constantly ready to turn against you the moment you look weak or you face a relapse. So you should not give in to prejudices. And don't go too far with flattery to win favor, so that people don't doubt your strength and suspicious of your motives. Authority is the subtle art of creating the appearance of strength, legitimacy, and justice, and once you acquire and master this art, you will win the trust of people and they will stand with you as their leader, regardless of bad circumstances. The law of aggression: see hostility behind a friendly facade. The people around us seem civilized and polite, but under the mask, everyone wants power and cares for it, and they try to catch mistakes and omissions and exploit circumstances, so they become more aggressive, and they make their way by terrorizing people. These human beings are ready to do anything in order to reach and resolve with such dangerous models, to expose them, and you know to look at the hostility behind the friendly fake facades, and not to give them power. And when it comes to energy, say aggressiveness, learn to tame it and direct it for fruitful purposes, champion yourself and attack problems with relentless energy, achieving your great ambitions. The law of short-sighted generations: seize the historical moment. The values and ideas of the generation that each person comes from tend to close us off from other viewpoints, restricting the mind and thinking. Therefore, our main task for the generation we wish to have is to understand its influence on us and to exploit its spirit in liberating our minds from the restrictions it imposes on us, so that we become more free and familiar with all points of view. The Denial of Death Act: a meditation on common mortality. Most of us spend our lives avoiding thinking about death. Instead, the inevitability of death should be constantly in our minds. Our understanding of the train of human life fills us with a sense of purpose, urgency, and speed in achieving what we aspire to before we run out of time. We have to train ourselves to manage setbacks, as there is no escape from facing the reality of death and moving on with life, and exploit it to the fullest. Do not strive for superiority, and instead use your brief presence on this earth to be faithful to everyone around you.